Welcome to Unshakeable, the podcast that shares stories of resilience in the face of life's toughest challenges. I'm your host, Siviwe Shakes Soizwapi, and each week we dive into real conversations that not only inspire but help us grow, offering insights on how to navigate our own struggles with strength and purpose. Because resilience isn't about being unbreakable, it's about standing firm when life tries to shake you. This is Unshakeable. Let's get into it. Hello, Unshakeable family. Welcome to yet another week. We go again, and today we have an incredible human being with a remarkable story. Born in Kenya, he's a Kenya Sevens star, made his debut in Hong Kong Sevens. He actually qualified for Tokyo 2020 to play in the Olympic Games, but after a horrific accident on the road, his leg was close to amputation twice. He rose back to competitive sport as a triathlete, and he was actually participating last year at the Paralympic Games in Paris, refusing to allow adversity to define him. And that's what we'll cover today. And on today's episode, it's specifically about perseverance, adaptability, and purpose in the face of life's unexpected turns. Today on Unshakeable, we have Oscar Dennis. Oscar, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on.
I'm so glad you agreed to join. I think we've been on the circuit together for some years.
Yeah.
And when you come against a couple of guys, you kind of follow them along and you see their story. And when I saw what happened with you having your eye on Tokyo and then being in an accident, I obviously was going to know about it, and I think the whole world did. And that was something special, but we'll get to that. I wanted to first ask something off the bat. Being in a Kenya Sevens group with a bunch of guys that speak Swahili, it is, eh?
Yeah, it is Swahili.
Swahili, how good is your Swahili?
It was actually, right now, I don't think it's that great. Back then it was actually decent, like have conversations with the boys, get through it. And then it was quite funny on the pitch, like the start of it, the boys would kind of be speaking English a bit, and I'd like throw a few words in Swahili and stuff, and then as everyone got tired, they would revert to their own, so the boys would speak Swahili and I'd be shouting English. And it was that just made me chuckle, like a few through the games and stuff. But it was Swahili is it's quite a basic language, which is quite nice. Not the hardest one to pick up. I mean, I've always been terrible at languages. So I must say Swahili is my best language for sure that I've had to learn. I
was hoping you're gonna drop a few lines, but I'll get you off air to kind of do that for us. You know what? When you look at the Kenya Sevens team, at the time you were still playing there, like you literally stood out because you're the only white guy in the team, and that was pretty cool. Usually, you always see a team with a lot of white guys and one black guy. That was something pretty special to see, and you can't ignore this guy on the field as well. You know what I mean? I think you'll share a little bit more about the great memories you made there with the Kenya Sevens team. But you grew up in Kenya, and but you did your secondary school in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Then ended up in Australia. Then came back to Kenya. Bit of a journey.
It's been a crazy journey. I'm growing up in Kenya, and Kenya's still home, and kind of will always be home, and it's a very magical place. But fortunate enough to finish primary school there, and then secondary school head over to the UK. So I was at a school called Kingswood in Bath, which is linked to the Kingswood down here in Grahamstown,
Eastern Cape. Nice.
So they actually do an exchange, I think in year 8. I'm not sure what it is here, whatever it was, but they do a little exchange. So I got to experience kind of the UK side of life for a bit. Played sport there. Actually was involved with Bath Junior when I was kind of going through school rugby. And then, finished school and kind of went back home and played all sports through school. I didn't focus on one thing. And then, I just ended up going home and got picked up kind of into the sevens. and that was the start of my rugby journey, I guess, as a professional, and being the one white boy in the team. And then I did kind of 3 years in the sevens, and then I got offered a place to study and play in Australia at Bond University there on the Gold Coast. So I went and did a 2-year kind of cram degree there. I studied sports business management, and then came back. Actually, as I came, so the sevens told me to come back, so I went back, and then as I got back, they basically said to me, well, we don't have a budget for you, so you can't have you in the system now. So I was like, well, that's pretty ridiculous. Like, I've come back from Australia for this. And then ended up going actually to Russia for 2 months to play there, which was cool. And whilst we were over there, I was then coming into Safari Sevens, and I got called up by Samurai, having played for them a couple of times previously. And then I got a phone call from Kenya, and they said, we need you to...
They got jealous.
We need you to come and play for us. And I said, look, I'm sorry, but I've committed to Samurai, and kind of, quite frankly, they're treating me a lot better than you guys have. So I'm not going to go back on my word.
I think you actually beat them that year as well.
Yeah, that was it, So we then played the Kenya Moran side, Kenya B side in the semis, and then played Kenya A and the Shujaa side in the final, and we managed to win that. So that was quite a nice kind of
for sure.
And then actually that night I got told, right, you're back into the team. You're
beating us now. We need you in our team.
Yeah, come back in. But actually, quite funny, on that point when I said, look, I'm going to play for Samurai, they basically turned around and said to me, look, it's your chance now to play for Kenya, or you'll never play for Kenya again.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I said to them,
did you always have aspirations to play for Kenya?
Yeah, always wanted to, and it's such a cool team, and I love being with the boys, and kind of always grew up watching Kenya Sevens, and we'd be over in the UK kind of at that time when Twickenham Sevens was on, so we'd always go to that. And then I kind of stuck to my word, and I said, no, I'm gonna stick with the Samurai boys, and if you guys don't want me, then fine, I'll figure it out.
No, for sure. And with all the sports that you did, why did you end up choosing rugby?
I don't know. I always loved rugby. I guess like through school and stuff, hockey was a big sport of mine as well.
My wife played hockey, and everyone that's on this podcast gets excited when they say hockey.
Yeah. So my kind of hockey coach, who was actually deputy head of the school and stuff, he always told me, no, you should chase your hockey dreams. That's your best sport. But I was kind of like, you know what, the Seventh Circuit looks so appealing. I love Kenya, like the crowds behind them massively on the circuit, and it just had a bit more of appeal to me. So kind of went home, and when I finished school, and I just kind of joined my local club in Kenya, and from there played like the national circuit. And then it was a time when Paul True, Vuyo and Graham Bentz were out there, so then got the call up from that, which was
incredible.
It was cool.
Incredible. Now living in South Africa, your memories of growing up in Kenya, what are the two vast differences between the two countries?
Kenya's still very much Africa.
I hear you.
Especially, I think like Western Cape down here, we're in such a bubble. Like, things work here. Like when I came down here, I was like, this place, just everything works. And people are like, no, it doesn't work here. I was like, wait, you come up to Kenya, and then you'll see.
You'll be grateful.
Yeah, you'll be grateful. So that was one kind of big thing. I guess coffee shops here. Like we don't really have coffee shops back home in Kenya, and it's such like I guess Stellenbosch as well is such like a sporty town that it's got everybody that comes through kind of biking, running, and everyone loves a bit of a coffee. So that culture is awesome down here, and we don't have that back home.
No, amazing. And with all the traveling, so from Kenya, you did the UK, then Australia, even to Russia, as you mentioned. How did that shape you in any way for you to take on the world stage? Because you came back and then you represented the Kenya Sevens on an international stage. How are all those experiences in these different countries? How did they shape you to be ready for that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I've been so kind of lucky to have been able to travel to all of these places and experience all these different cultures around the world, and I think it's why I've been able to make like good mates from the circuit, not just from like the Kenya boys, but from all the teams and stuff. And even like moving down to South Africa, like I think it's really helped me in life, like especially now that I'm down in South Africa kind of by myself now. Like on the circuit we were traveling, we were with the boys, so it was a bit easier. But yeah, I think my experiences have kind of just, I don't know, in a weird way, kind of helped me to make friends better a bit, kind of fit in. You understand the cultures, 100%. You kind of respect them, you're not disrespectful towards it, and yeah, it's cool. It's been awesome.
And putting on that, they say, is it Shujaa or Suja? Shujaa. Putting on that Shujaa jersey for the first time, how was it? Also made my debut in Hong Kong, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I saw you made your debut in Hong Kong, and putting it on for the first time, how was that?
Yeah, it was actually pretty special. Collins, I think, was injured at the time. And so, yeah, the first shirt that I got was number 11.
Oh, nice.
Which is Collins' shirt.
Yep.
So to fill those boots was quite a bit of pressure, but an amazing experience. Like, I mean, it didn't come easy to making my debut. It took so many years, kind of not having a Kenyan passport for the first part of it, and then injury after injury. So to finally make my debut was incredible. As you know, it's one thing to represent your country on the global stage. Yeah. So that was awesome, and for some reason I always thought and knew I was going to make my debut at like quite a cool event, and it happened to be Hong Kong, and in our pool was actually, so my first game was against Fiji. Second game was New Zealand, and third game was Australia.
Oh, straight into the deep end.
And yeah, I learned the hard way for sure.
Yeah, and just being part of the team, obviously it's like I said, you were the only white guy in the team, and you stood out. And you stood out for like being a good playmaker for them as well, I must say. The differences, because in South Africa as well, like our team is very diverse. We've got African black guys, we've got colored guys, and we've got white guys. How are those differences for you being part of Shujaa?
To be honest, I loved it and I embraced it, and I've said to loads of people like, oh yeah, it was out of my comfort zone. Like kind of being a white boy, I grew up in Kenya, kind of privileged lifestyle, and then to get into the Kenya 7 side was awesome, but then it took a little bit of adjustment, but I loved it and I embraced it, and the boys really took me under their wing as well.
Taught you some dance moves.
Well, tried to. I don't know how good. But there was a lot of dancing through those few years in the 7s. But I mean, also like before I joined the Kenya 7 side, I was with my local club side, Nondies. There was one other white guy that played with me there, a guy called James Evans. And so it was like an easier intro into the full Kenya 7 side where it was just me. But it was cool. I loved it, and the boys are such a good crack, and yeah, we just had a blast together.
And your time on the circuit itself, competing, just that competitive edge, and I know Kenya won their first one in 2016.
Yeah.
Was that was after you had started with
that? I had just gone to university then. So I went to university 2016, 2017, then came back 2018. So yeah, it was just as I'd left the 7s to do my uni stint, but I was following that game, and it was.
But I'm sure you guys were trying to obviously get another one under the belt and many more after that.
Yeah, it's always the way. I don't know. It seems like Singapore's kind of the one you can get it. I don't know why. I think there's such a big hype around Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong's crazy, as you know. Like it's madness, and so I think there's such like almost like a relief when everyone gets to Singapore, and everyone kind of drops off a bit, relaxes, and so I think Singapore is probably one of the easiest ones to try and get on the circuit. Of course, you try again and again after that, and you guys have done it multiple times. But it's amazing to see Kenya have got theirs, and then was it last season they came quite close again? Was it in Singapore as well?
Yeah, it was in Singapore again, and that was when they were actually reinstated back onto the circuit, wasn't it? And they just had an incredible run before being relegated again. What's your thoughts on the whole structure now? Honestly, openly.
To be honest, it almost feels like they're trying to kill men's sevens, which is a shame. It's such a good foundation for the 15s game as well.
100%.
And you see teams like South Africa, like New Zealand, like Australia, Ireland, who've got some of their top players have kind of come through the seven circuit and gone up through it, kind of as a pathway. And to be honest, I think it being an Olympic sport, I think if it was to drop out of being an Olympic sport, I think that would be the end of sevens, which would be a huge shame. I don't really know, to be honest. The girls' programs are running, and it just seems like they want to kill men's sevens for some reason.
No, it's crazy. We've gone from 10 tournaments, 16 teams to 12 tournaments. 12 teams to I think it's 6 now.
And 6 or 7 tournaments.
Then it's grand finale.
And then winner takes all.
Winner takes all.
And it's to be honest with you, I think we had it in the good days back from kind of your 2014 to your 2018, 2019 was. I guess the prime time for sevens.
No, for sure. But you know what? I'm rooting for Kenya to get back on again for that winner takes all.
That'd be quite something, wouldn't it? If they pulled it out the bag.
For them to be back in that top 8, and it's always. I promise you, every time we play Kenya, it's like the guys just take it up another level. It's always physical, and it's just been intense, and it's been great memories, and that's why I wish everything but the best for them, everything of the best for them, because I know what a great team they are. While you are still there, Oscar, you made your mark on the world's 7th stage, and you started being selected actually consistently, and you actually qualified to go to Tokyo 2020. How did you feel?
Luckily South Africa were in the top 4 that year. So.
We would have met in Africa.
Otherwise we would have met at the Africa Cup for it. I think in the final we played Uganda. But it seems like, when Kenya play Uganda kind of their heads drop a bit. And so I think we played them, it was quite a weird structure, but we played them in the last pool game. Basically, but now the last pool game was then on the Sunday morning, and then I think it was straight to semis, where we played Madagascar, who was actually a tight game, into 14-14 all at half time.
They actually got a good team now.
And they sling that thing around, and the structure goes out, and it's just chaos. So that was an interesting semi-final, and then when we came to play Uganda again in the final, we were already given them a bit of a beating in our first game on the Sunday. That their kind of heads were dropped. So we qualified, and it was quite surreal to think that you could be off to the Olympics, and the team's 100% going. It was it's every sportsman's dream, isn't it? It's like pinnacle of sport, really, to get to Olympics. So that was super special.
Amazing, and same on our side. We were really looking forward to it before COVID happened. Luckily it still went on, but I promise you, being at the games during COVID was just, we never felt like we were at an Olympic Games, because it was for us, Team South Africa Sevens, because we ended up with a couple of COVID cases, and we were in quarantine for majority of the time. We went into the tournament without our coach because he got COVID on
I remember this.
The last week before we go compete. So I think we were at the village for one night, then we went to play. And anyway, it's we never felt like we were at the Olympics. Short-lived experience, and it wasn't the real deal being at the Olympics, living in the village, and all of that. And I think that's why we were actually so keen to make it to Paris, and make 100%. Sure we qualify for that. But with that excitement going to Tokyo, your dream was cut short due to an accident, a horrific accident. Do you mind sharing with us what happened on that day?
Yeah, so I that day I actually had just come back from the Bermuda World 10 series that they managed to set up in COVID. I don't know how they did it, but basically we were back home and thinking, who knows?
I heard Kenya didn't even have quarantine.
No, man. I was home and I was just partying around up at home. And, was having a blast, and I don't think I'd touched a rugby ball kind of since we finished LA, Vancouver. We landed back from Vancouver, I think it was like the 13th, and then on the 16th the world shut down. And then it wasn't until October that I played rugby again. But before that, Frankie Horn then called me and he's like, Oscar, do you reckon you and you can get 4 of the other Kenya boys together? They're setting up this World 10 series. We want to send like an Africa kind of franchise over there and see what we can do. So I was like, yeah, of course. In the middle of COVID, I had this crazy experience of living in this 5-star resort for about 5 weeks in Bermuda. We managed to win the World 10 series. And it was such an interesting tournament because there were teams from all over the world. And so like an American team, for example, brought a huge forward pack, whereas our team was just based off 7s. I mean, you got the Kenyan boys like your Andrew Amonde, your Oscar Umar, your William Backer, who are not small boys. Yeah. But I mean, like Oscar and Andrew were our props. And so it was a super interesting kind of dynamic to see play out throughout like the tournament of how they would like set up like a driving maul from the 10 off a line out, and we just couldn't stop it. But then we were like, right, well, we're just 7s boys, so let's just try run them silly. So anyway, we managed to win that tournament, and I got home, Tuesday morning, uninjured for the first time in I think forever.
You had a few injuries as well.
Yeah, and then that night, I jumped on my motorbike to go have dinner with a friend of mine. And then on the way back, I went to turn right, and somebody was coming down the hill, going pretty quick. And as I turned right, they were basically on the other side of the road trying to overtake me. So I turned right, and they basically just T-boned me, and my leg took all the force. And and
it was a hit and run as well.
Hit and run, yeah. So I kind of woke up a bit kind of like out of it. Like I woke up like gasping for air, really, like winded on the ground. And I was like, okay, I know like I've been hit by a car, and I kind of like rolled my head to the side and I saw like a red brake light, and I thought that must be the car. And then I kind of got the air back in me, and I looked again, and it was just my motorbike light. So the car had gone. And now I was thinking, okay, well, survival mode, I guess. So I kind of lay there and I checked everything was like all right. My helmet was on. It was all smashed up the back, but thank goodness.
Thank God you had it on.
Yeah, otherwise I would dead for sure. So I like checked the rest of my body, checked this leg. I was like, I know that's fine. And then I looked at the bad leg, and I saw like there was this big open wound on the back, and I was like, oh, let me have a better look at that, because at the point you're in shock, so you don't feel pain or anything. And I was like, let me just have a. So I lifted up my leg to have a better look at it, and then the leg was just hanging, and I was like, holy moly, okay, right, now I need
clean break.
Yeah, straight through, and it's just being held on by a bit of skin at the front actually, which was, as I was like, right, I need to get off. So I kind of lifted my leg up, so it was kind of hanging, and I crawled like backwards off the road, because that's like section's such a dark part of road that there's no lights, nothing. So I was like, if a car comes down, I'm going to get run over by the car. So let me crawl off. So I crawled off and got my phone out of my pocket, took my helmet off, called my mate, said, look, I've been hit by a car, I've broken my leg, I just need you to come and get me. Didn't tell him how bad it was. And then actually a friend of mine on her way home found me. She was the one that then took my phone, called her dad. Her dad said, look, I know somebody's just had leg surgery by a very good surgeon, so let me call them, get the details. He basically said, look, get him straight to the closest hospital, which was super close. It was probably like a kilometer away, but it's a pretty crappy hospital. So she put me in the car. The first guys that actually found me were, I think there were some security guards for maybe the tourism minister in Kenya, and they jumped out and helped me and stuff, and then she pulled up, so I got put into her car, taken to that hospital. I then called Tom, my mate, again. I said, just make sure my motorbike gets home. So he did all that, then he joined us at the hospital. But as we got to the hospital, like the A&E door was locked. So I kind of got out the car and I hopped over to the door and I was knocking on it, and they were like, it was just hanging.
Oh,
and I was like knocking on the door, and they kind of pulled the curtains open. They're like, how can we help you? And I was like, well, look at my leg.
How can we help you?
Yeah, then they shot into action. At that point, I then just lay on the ground. I think at that point, like, I realized, okay, I'm being helped now, and like it just started shaking. And anyway, that hospital, the surgeon said just go there, get his leg straight because it's already dying, basically, because the way the bone had broken and everything was kind of cutting off the blood circulation to the foot. So he said just straighten the leg so we can get the blood flowing, and then just drug him up and then bring him to me when he's ready. So yeah, so that was the first hospital. Then I got put back in the car. We got driven to the next hospital, and then it was
a better one.
Yeah, a better one. Yeah, everything was open. And they were waiting for me. And then, yeah, I had my first surgery that evening in Nairobi, which they couldn't do too much because of the severity of the break. So they basically just cleaned out the whole back of the leg, like you look at the photos and stuff, there's a whole heap of muscle and everything that they've had to cut out at the back just to kind of get it as clean as possible and keep it alive. So yeah, I was then meant to get medevaced down here because they can't put those external fixators. Do you remember that cage that I had on?
I remember it.
Yeah, so they don't do that in Kenya. So he said, look, go down to South Africa, get it done there. But then the insurance company, it wasn't actually the insurance company, it was the medevac company. We're looking for a cheaper option. So their doctor said, look, he has to be down in South Africa by Thursday night, otherwise his leg will have to come off, basically. Yeah. So by Thursday night, I was still in Kenya, and so we got my lawyer to send a letter to the medevac company, basically saying you guys are now negligible if Oscar's leg comes off. Anyway, they then flew me Friday night down here. Got down here, and yeah, the leg was somehow still alive, the flesh, and so got out of the first surgery with it still on. Then I was told you're 50-50 for the next surgery, but you're a lot better than you were.
Yeah.
And I just didn't let it
when they
sink in, really.
When they say 50-50, do they mean it might come off, you might keep it?
Yeah. And I think at this point I was so drugged up as well that I didn't really.
I wanted to ask, when did the pain come? While you're hopping, no pain?
I literally didn't have pain because I got to the hospital still in shock. I was shaking and stuff, but because of shock, but not pain. And then I was literally on drugs for most of my time through hospital. So actually on the medevac on my way down, they filled me up with fentanyl, which is that drug that they created in, I think it was the States or somewhere, to get heroin addicts off of heroin. But now people started mixing it with other stuff. It's stronger than heroin, so that's now been kind of a backfire. Anyway, so I was on fentanyl on the plane ride down, and I got down there, and then as my leg swelled up in the cast, and so as we got to the hospital, they were trying to take the swelling down, the cast off. Okay. And it was really sore, and they were kind of pulling on it, and I was like, if you guys pull harder, you might just take my foot off. And so they were like, look, don't worry, it's fine, we'll just sedate you, we'll get the doctor down, it's just easier. So the doctor comes down, and she's like, at this point I'm still I guess high on fentanyl, and she's like, I'm going to use ketamine. We're going to fill you up with ketamine now and take the cast off your legs, so you'll go into a dream state, but just try be happy and have a good time and go with it. So at this point I had the craziest trip of my life.
Tell us about it.
I was in this A&E room, and it filled up full of my spaghetti arms and legs, just full of my arms and my legs, as intertwined things. And but it was weird because I was with it. So now I was looking around this room
and you're awake, eh?
Yeah, fully awake. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm trying to find my hands and my feet in all of this spaghetti. And then they shot to the top right corner of the room, and I remember being oh, there they are. And then I went into a dream state now, and I was back at Cape Town Airport, but it was only now my hands and my feet as 4 individual objects, but they were now racing each other. And
I'd pay to watch that movie.
I would love to see this back. There was Play-Doh jumps that they were going over, and and I was like watching this, and then it was weird. I then like came back into my like eyes, which I don't know, it's the weirdest thing to say, but like I came back into my eyes in this room, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And like my foot was like now here by my thing, and the nurses were playing with it, and I was like, this is just bizarre, and why is there like Play-Doh everywhere? And anyway, next thing I know, I kind of woke up like in the fetal position in my little bed, and I was like, crikey, that was quite the experience. And then from there, they took me into surgery. So they filled me up with then anesthetics. I don't think I felt pain for a long time. I think the first time I actually was in proper pain was when they plated the leg, basically, which would have been after my first stint in hospital. So I guess my initial 6 weeks in hospital, I didn't have pain.
Wow.
And during that time, at no point are you thinking, oh my leg, oh my career, oh running, like nothing. You're not in that mental state just as yet.
I don't think so. I think like that, and especially like the first kind of week or so, I think I was definitely just like, let's just get this kind of sorted. I didn't really understand the severity of the actual break, and that I'd lost all the tendons through the front of my ankle, and I had drop foot, and I don't think the surgeons really wanted to tell me that either, just to kind of keep me a bit positive. And I guess I kind of looked at it just like it was a normal injury for a bit. And I always thought, okay, right, I've got a goal. It's to try. Crazy to think, and now I thought I've got Olympics in July. And this is in November, and my legs meant to be amputated twice. But it was probably towards the end of that initial kind of 6 weeks in hospital that I then was like, okay, the severity of this is actually pretty serious.
And the doctors, did they know that you were a professional athlete? And do you think that informed how they were treating you and how they were really trying their best to not amputate this leg?
Yeah, 100%. So it's interesting you ask that, because I asked them the same question. I said, so if you're just going to schedule someone for amputation, what are the perimeters around when you decide to take it off or not? And they said, ultimately, we rate every person that comes in who's got trauma like you've got, like severe trauma, as a host to save that limb. So we look at you, we see you as like okay, you're an international athlete, you've probably got good genetics, healthy, you're not boozing, you're not smoking, and so you are basically a perfect candidate to try and save that limb. Whereas if it's somebody maybe who's obese, I don't know, who's an alcoholic, who smokes lots, maybe they then kind of think, well, is there much point in us actually trying to save this? So yeah, I mean, there was a few things that worked out in my favor that was quite nice.
Incredible. Fresh out of a tournament as well.
Fresh, so
you're very fit.
which is the craziest thing, because the car must have hit me at least 70 kilometers an hour, right? So I don't think people understand like the contact side of rugby. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like what your body goes through with those collisions is huge. And this car has now hit me at 70, 80 kilometers an hour, and I've got no concussion. I've got nothing wrong with me apart from where the car actually hit my leg and snapped my leg, and then I had a bit of like gravel rash on my nipple. I thought my nipple had come off. But I had no concussions, no headaches, nothing. And I think it was literally because I'd just come back from playing that tens tournament, and the tens is a bit more physical than the sevens, just because you've got some teams with some of those bigger boys in it.
Yeah.
And so I think I was literally the perfect person to have got hit by a car at that point.
Makes sense. And I want to say, like, listening to you, I think I have to mention the strength that you had during that time. You were a machine to just hobble around like that, and your leg is literally dangling. And I'm just thinking, maybe if it was someone else, they would have thought, hey, if I move much more, this thing might just
come off,
you know.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was held by skin basically. And you also mentioned that you were 50-50 for it being amputated.
The second time.
Twice.
Yeah, which is...
that's quite a journey. And during that time and the whole recovery period, how did you get that mental strength to persevere through?
I think I've always been quite like a positive person as well, and I think rugby definitely, like, and I guess through all sports, like, I've been so injury prone that I kind of looked at it like, right, I'm in this situation now. I could dwell on it and feel sorry for myself, or I just treat this as kind of another comeback. Another injury, let me just go through it stage by stage. We'll tick each box off slowly by slowly, and instead of kind of looking at a much bigger picture of saying, right, I'm going to run again, I kind of took it kind of day by day, week by week, and thought, okay, next surgeries to do this, let's make sure that's a success.
And next there was 12 surgeries, by the way.
Yeah, there was 12 surgeries, so it was quite a process, but I mean, yeah, the seven surgeries were in the first 5 weeks, and then the next few surgeries after that were, I guess, kind of like through the next kind of year, but it was 12 in total. And yeah, I just kind of took it step by step, and my family all came down. Luckily it was over kind of Christmas time, so they could kind of have time off. I mean, they would have taken time off anyway, but it just meant that they could be down here and
convenient
kind of, yeah, enjoy Cape Town as well as kind of being there for me. So yeah, I mean, like, family was super kind of useful in that situation. A lot of my mates that lived down here came and visited me. James Murphy, who's one of the Sevens boys, who's a good mate of mine, he basically called up my sister and said, look, my mum lives in Cape Town, if you guys need to stay here, she's got her house.
And James would do that for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think my mum ended up living with his mum for about the next year. They became very good mates.
Amazing.
And it's kind of life. It kind of life changed, obviously, for me then, but also I think for our whole family. Like, South Africa is such a big part of our lives now. My mum, my sister set up a fabric business whilst they were down here over that period. Incredible. Libby kind of does all the shopping for them, who's James's mum, down here when they need it. And so, yeah, mum and my sister are down here the whole time, obviously kind of coming down to look at new fabrics and all of that. And then, yeah, me with my new kind of chapter in life as well, going into triathlon. Based down here in life.
Yeah, I wanna jump into that now, because you're back in sport and you're competing again, which is incredible. But before I get to that, I just wanted to chat a little bit about, I know when the doctors, with my ACL, they took about the tendon from the hammy and put it on my knee. With you, how did they go about it? It was quite a serious injury. Did they take something, a tendon or something somewhere else where it was operational to help fix and save your leg?
Yeah, so I basically lost all the tendons through the front of my ankle. So my toes still don't work now. They can grip, but they don't lift up. So they were all gone, and then obviously your tibant that lifts is kind of attached onto your foot, that lifts your foot up.
Yes.
That was obviously gone. So I had drop foot for 10 months. Yeah. And the doctor told me, he just said, look, just keep contracting your tibant muscle on your shin, because when the time's right, we will try and figure out a solution. So I was like, okay, and I found that quite interesting. So I was chatting to them, and I was like, what are you guys thinking? Like, they were like, well, for ACLs, as you were saying, we take a bit of the hamstring and attach it and kind of do all that. And I was like, okay. So, and they were like, well, right, but for you, we're going to have to take basically that whole tendon of your hamstring out.
Yes.
And we're going to try and attach that to the tibant muscle, and then we'll drill it into your big toe. So you'll get a little bit of movement back, basically, so that I could fight gravity.
Nice.
And they were like, if you can fight gravity, you're winning. So they took the hamstring, attached it to the big toe, attached it to the tibant. I was in a cast then for 6 weeks, just to let it kind of take and stuff. And then it was like, right, D-Day, when they took the cast off, and I was on the bed, and the guy was like, okay, now try lift your foot. And I kind of had a bit of movement. I was like, holy moly, it's working.
There's progress.
And then like I think I'm moving it a bit too much for like the next 3 days, and it started like getting less and less. And I was like, oh no, what is going on here? And I was actually living with James and Katie, his girlfriend at the time, and it was just getting like less and less. I was showing her, it was getting less and less as well. And that's kind of when I went into like my biggest kind of, I guess, down part of it all, like my depressed state, I guess. But apart from that part, I then went back to the surgeon and I said, this is what's happening. He said, look, don't stress, because I think basically the hamstring's too strong for the bottom bit of your tib muscle where it was severed. So we'll do another surgery where we'll take your second toe tendon and we'll reinforce the hamstring with it and the tib and muscle.
A little less strong.
Yeah, so it ended up working. But yeah, at that period, jeepers, life was tough. But and that was the only real period that I actually struggled with. So yeah, other than that, it was all quite a cruisy progress.
What's your relationship with your motorbike now?
He did say that they must make sure it comes back home.
I actually did get back home, and I fixed it all up. But then, because I was now down in South Africa, I was like, let me just sell it for now.
For now.
I think it was just unfortunate, you know,
true. No, that's true. It could
everything like this. It was literally like this injury was meant to happen for a reason. Like, I got back from Bermuda. I've got a short wheelbase Land Cruiser that's got like a button on the steering column. So when you turn the ignition off, you have to press the button to turn everything off. That turns the radio, kind of all your electrics. My mum had used my car. She hadn't turned that off.
So you would have been using his car.
Yeah. So the battery was flat. Then my motorbike, because I've been riding it in COVID, I was like, right, I'm going to Nairobi. Let me just take it down with me. It can go and get serviced. So I took it down there because I was away in Bermuda, and it got serviced there. And then my sister had just moved up north. So my mum lives about 4 hours out of Nairobi. So mum moved up there. Her car, for the first time in 3 years, wasn't in Nairobi, and so my motorbike was there. So I just jumped on my motorbike, and I never normally ride it on the road. It's an off-road bike. So it was meant to happen, I guess. So I think later on in life, I've got nothing wrong with motorbikes. They are definitely dangerous, and I don't think I'd ride on the road, but they're good fun to kind of mess about on the farm or go with the boys somewhere.
I mean, rugby's dangerous. There's no danger in everything. So you can't just...
And you have to live life, you know, you can't not live life. So if something happens, it happens, and we deal with it.
I agree. Incredible story, Oscar, and that great, amazing journey. Just a question, during the rehab time, when did you realize that you can get back into sport?
So the rehab part of it, I guess, like having come down here to the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport.
You were walking in there with your cage and everything.
Yeah, cage and everything. And luckily, from rugby background, I had access to SAS. And I was working with Joe and Nadia, and I guess it was all like, well, what can we do? What can't we do? Let's see what we can do here. A lot of the time, it was kind of like a catch-22. Going to the gym and stuff and doing my rehab and kept me mentally sane, but it also led to like where my pin sites were, led to lots of infections, I guess, of just the sweat going into it and all of that. So I was on antibiotics for ages, but it kept me sane. And so then the rehab part of it, I guess as it begun, we were kind of like, well, none of us really know. I've been told by the doctors, okay, if you can walk again, you'll be lucky. If you can run again, you'll be lucky. So we got the walking stage done, but it wasn't for 10 months, as I was saying, because up until then I was either in a boot or whatever, because I had dropped foot. So physio basically started as soon as they put the cage on, which was probably like my 3rd week in hospital, which is quite crazy to think. So started rehabbing, started trying to walk again, and then kind of as the cage came off, they then plated everything. So I guess that was once the skin. So I had 3 skin grafts. But they couldn't put a plate in just because the risk of infection was too high. So they had the external fixator on until the skin grafts took, and then they said, right, let's get rid of the X fixator because it's giving you infections the whole time, and let's go in and put 2 plates, one on the back of the tib and on the side of the. Is it tibs the big one or fibs?
Fib.
Fib's the big one. Okay, so so on the back of the fib they put the big one, and then on the tib they put a smaller plate. So there's like 2 plates and 16 screws in there, and that's the first time I actually went through a bit of pain through the whole process. But then once those were in, we started kind of rehabbing again. Now the next stage. And at that point, like, even though I had drop foot, I could kind of like walk again a bit. So I was kind of in and out of a boot, trying to keep my toes kind of working and stuff, and kind of working the foot a bit and trying to get the scar tissue kind of removed. And then, once they kind of then did the tendon stuff and that actually started working, and then I could slowly get back into kind of running and stuff. I did a lot of work with Werner, like in the Alta G, which is the anti-gravity treadmill. And you just kind of took it step by step, and it was long. It was probably a year and a half of rehab.
How are you feeling? You now can walk where they said you might not be able to walk. Now you are starting to run. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like the first time I was so nervous getting into like that treadmill with the little like thing you put on and they zip you in. And I was like, I don't even know if I can remember to run.
It's so long.
And it's so long. And then I started running, and it kind of felt normal in a weird way. Like my foot was obviously landing at a bit of a different position which you're used to, and which I was like used to as well. So that took a bit of time to get used to, and it's kind of slapping a bit, because obviously I guess the best way to look at it, like I almost lost like all that suspension in my ankle really, so it kind of like thuds onto the ground. And even like to this day as well, like it's still a bit thuddy, but I can kind of control it a bit better. So if I do like single leg jumps or whatever, this is obviously a lot weaker than the other one. But running for the first time was incredible. And it was then at that point I was like, well, if I'm running again, then I can definitely get back to kind of living a normal life as I know normal, which is about having sport in it. So.
I actually wanted to ask now, normal life was an incredible bonus to get back to that. But were you thinking back to sevens, or what were you thinking? Back to sports?
I was kind of like, I started playing touch again back home. So after I did all my rehab and everything, I got running here. I went back home for a bit, and I spent a year at home. And in that year, we would play touch every Wednesday. And there was lots of like sporting events going on around, so kind of got into a bit of tennis again. Actually started playing a bit of squash. And so at this point I was thinking, I reckon I could get back to sevens. But the only thing that was kind of leading me away from that is if somebody was to tackle
the contact element.
The contact element,
maybe fall on it or something.
And then I was talking to my like family about it as well, and we just decided it's not actually worth it. Like, you've done so well to get to this point, you can live a normal life. I guess Olympics was that one part. Having qualified for it was that one part that was like, I still want to get there. And then it kind of leads on, I guess, to a year further on from that point down the line, then ended up in Paris Paralympics in the
So with
cycling.
the touches, you could sidestep, change direction?
Yeah. I was cruising. I wore my a little the GPS trackers. I put that in because I was just like, let's just wear it for a bit of fun. And I hit like 33 kilometers an hour again on that.
You were back.
I was thinking, this little leg's done well, boy.
I heard you call him Piggy or something.
Peggy. Peggy. It just comes from, I guess, having a peg leg, which is a bit I don't know if we can really say that in this day and age, but
you mentioned Paris, and I know it was like a call up to do tandem racing on the bike, and your partner was someone who was also a Paralympian who had an eyesight issue. But when you got back into sport, you got back into triathlon. Why triathlon?
So,
were you trying to stimulate yourself at the level of sevens, or because triathlon is another beast? I had Jamie on here, by the way.
Really?
So he was telling me all about it.
No, triathlon. I don't really think I knew what I was getting myself into a triathlon either. But there was just one that was happening up near home, just like a fun one. It was through a game reserve, so we swam in the dam, cycled up through the game reserve, and then run through the game reserve as well, and kind of came second in that. And I was like, this is actually pretty cool. I quite enjoy this.
Was it with able-bodied people?
Yeah, it was able-bodied.
Wow.
And I was like, this is awesome. I back into kind of a bit of competition and stuff. And through school, I always used to swim, but I didn't really have a swimming like background as such. Like, I thought I was good I could swim 50 meters fast, or 25 meters I could swim fast. But longer distances, even now, longer distance gets me. So even like now, like when it's like sprint stuff in the pool, I enjoy it, can keep up with everyone. And then it goes to the longer stuff, and you just see me slowly getting. But I had a little bit of, so I knew how to swim.
Yeah.
And then I kind of did cross country growing up through school life and all of that. But riding a bike, I knew how to ride a bike, but I had never really ridden a bike. So it was kind of okay. I did this triathlon, was like, this is actually very cool. Yeah. And at that point I then thought there must be kind of para side of triathlon. Yeah. So then I spoke to the Kenyan Paralympic team, and they said there is. And so I thought, right, well, let's get the ball rolling.
Here we go.
So started my kind of, I moved down here in end of March, April 2024.
Yeah.
I joined Vicky's triathlon squad here down in Stellenbosch, and they've got a high performance part of that with a coach called Colin Fleming, and we started off very rugged, kind of came back down. I had long hair and Colin, I think a few weeks in, told me the hair's got to go, and I had some big old goggles. Those had to go
put everything behind you.
Swim cap on, and so that was the start of the new journey. And then I was just racing over in the UK whilst it was winter here, just to get out and do some races over there, and was still in comms with the Paralympic guys in Kenya, and they actually asked me then, can you come and help us out there, just being like a driver, because a lot of them are disabled themselves, either visually impaired or missing a limb or whatever it is, so they were like, you can just drive us basically. So I said for sure. So I was over there, and they asked me to source some bicycles for them, some tandem bikes.
Nice.
So I managed to source a tandem bike that we got kind of custom made, which was quite cool, and that arrived kind of when we were in Paris, but a bit later on, because I guess a skipper now a bit. I go to Paris, I'm there as the driver, and then things got crazy. That's a
crazy journey.
Proper cool runnings moment where I was now sat chatting to the woman trying to get into the village, because I had on my pass it said chauffeur.
Yes.
And she was like, no, look, unfortunately you can't get in. Like, you have to get passes from the Kenya team and go around the other side and get in. I was like, surely there's a way you can. I just want to go in and have a look. She was like, no, I wish I could help you, but I can't. And then I was chatting to, actually just before that, I was chatting to the head of the Kenya Cycling Committee, and he was like, I don't know if you know, but the boys had a crash a few weeks ago, so they went through a red light and basically T-boned a car.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, which would also been a crazy sight to have seen, because now there's a visually impaired guy who obviously fully blind, doesn't know what's happened. So now these guys have T-boned this car. The pilot has gone over the bonnet of the car. So now he's on the ground, he's broken his collarbone and like he's done his hip. So he's now shouting in Swahili to the blind guy. The blind guy's shouting back like, what the hell's going on? I obviously I can't see anything, like what's happening now? There's a French woman who's out of her car screaming, crying. She can't speak English, so she now calls the police. So this whole scene was kind of.
His name's Ogada.
Ogada, Kennedy Ogada.
Was his did he not hurt himself?
No, he was all right. Like he was like, I've got a little bit of like a sore kind of lower back, but I'm kind of all right. So now that whole situation, I played it out in my head a few times, thinking how they were shouting at each other in Swahili, and this poor French woman who's just been T-boned by a bicycle.
And how far from him competing?
This must have been like 2 weeks out.
2 weeks out.
Yeah, and so now they go to the village, but they're not doing anything because they don't have a bicycle. So the bicycle was broken. And then I was talking to the guy who's head of the cycling stuff, and I was like, well, I do triathlon, blah, blah. So he's like, okay, I've got an idea. And then this is when I went and was speaking to the woman to try to get into the village and stuff. And she was like, no, you can't come in.
Yes.
And then he now calls me up and he's like, Oscar, I need you to print some documents. And I was like, really? I was like, okay, so send them through on email. And he's like, you're going to race. I was like, what? So
now you can get into the village.
Now I showed this woman, I said, I need you to print off these documents for me. She's like, you can't be serious. You're not doing this just to get into the village.
Trying another trick.
I was like,
you're doing your best to get in here.
Properly. So I ended up inside the village as, competing now. So met Ogada for the first time kind of that day. And it's quite surreal because you're now like, you're almost kind of a carer for them, because they're visually impaired. Obviously, you got to take them everywhere. They know like your little area within the village and the rooms and everything, but like to go to the dining hall, if they want to go, I don't know, get a haircut, down to the Samsung tent, whatever it was, we'd cruise around. So got to know Ogada very, very well, and he's such a nice chap, and we actually had a ball. And then we were waiting for the tandem bikes to arrive. And they then both kind of arrived maybe 3 days before we started racing. So the first time I ever rode a tandem bike was there in Paris. It was in the rain, because I was like, Ogada, we have to ride. Like, otherwise, even if it's raining today, we just got to get out, and because I don't know how to ride this bicycle. So we had these laps that we had to do where they closed off everything, and I said, you just wait here. Let me ride this thing firstly by myself, and then I'll come back around and I'll get you. And so then it was literally the blind leading the blind on that occasion. And so the third time I ever rode a tandem was on the start of this time trial race.
Oh my goodness.
Against the best in the world, and they're all able-bodied, so the pilots can be able-bodied, whereas now we've got two para-athletes who's one's never ridden a tandem before, really trying to race. So it's wild, but a very cool experience.
It's so surreal that basically you weren't phased. Like, basically there's not a part of you that was like, ooh. And like, you do speak about, okay, you had a dip, but like there's having a dip and feeling not well and being depressed, but then there's also this is what I've always known. Like, I've played rugby, I've played sevens. This is all I've known, and I'm probably not going to ever do that again. There's my world is falling apart. Like, what am I going to do? And it doesn't seem like you had that. What am I going to do with my life? Because how old am I? Like, which direction do I go to now? Like, it doesn't feel like you had that one. That's truly unshakable.
100%. That's why it's the right guy to be here. And and it leads me, first of all, I want to say you guys did well in that time trial. I think you came 11th. And I'm like going against guys who've done it, able-bodied guys, etc. And that's pretty impressive. And with what my wife is saying now, I think that speaks to identity, and you never really put your identity on sevens or rugby or whatever. You know, it was Oscar the individual before everything and anything else. But getting back to competing, how was that for your confidence and your identity as an athlete?
Yeah, it was huge. And I mean, like, as you were saying, kind of like my world did change in like that instance that I got hit. And I guess all of us, I just love competing as well. I'm sure you do as well. And it's quite something for that to then be taken away. And you think, am I actually going to find that again? Am I going to be able to find that again? And so, I think I just was always kind of striving to get back to being able to compete again in something. And so, to then be able to compete again, I was like, I'm back. Let's see where we can go from here.
I love that, bro. I love that. And what does sport mean to you now after all you've been through?
Jeepers. Sport has kind of given me everything in life. Like I played sport the whole way through junior school, growing up in Kenya. I mean, we were outdoors the whole time, so sport was huge there. Going to the UK, I was on a sports scholarship there. I then went to university in Oz on a sports scholarship there. Russia, obviously going there for a bit, Chicago. Like, sport has taken me all over the world, and it's such a powerful tool of, I mean, you kind of go back to that question of kind of what I picked up from traveling around the world, and I think sport has given me that kind of perspective of every kind of different, I guess, can't say population, but like people within a certain area. And here we are. I'm now down in South Africa in a new sport, and I don't think I could see life without sport, to be honest.
I guess that's why you got back into it.
100%. So yeah, let's see. It's now the next chapter is to try get LA
28
in triathlon.
Nice.
Got to be top 10 in the world though.
How's that prep?
Yeah, it's it's all right until I think like from 12 down, the boys are quick.
Yeah.
So this is my kind of first year on the World Tri Series, but I'm sitting in 13th and I'm off to World Champs in October.
Very close.
So I've got 3 years to try break into that top 10 bracket, but it's tough. There's a few of the older boys that I'm hoping they're going to get a bit older as the years go on as well towards it, and we can maybe catch up with them. But yeah, that's the next chapter. And we'll see how it unfolds.
You'll definitely make it through, and you'll make it in there, and we'll see you at LA 28. Last question for you, Oscar, before I let you go. When people hear your story, what do you want them to take away from it?
I want them to take hope is the main thing, I guess. Like, having gone through what I've gone through in my life, basically having been basically destroyed in that instance, I think like if people see who I am, and like my big journey now has been on social media, has been to kind of give people that kind of hope and motivation that even though things don't happen in life as you want them to, and these curveballs come, you can always overcome them. You gotta. It's tough. It's definitely tough. But if you get into the right mindset, you can actually achieve anything. And so I hope my story can just give people hope for if it's sport, if it's issues in life that are causing a bit of trouble to them. Like, things do get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that's my main kind of take, I guess.
Amazing. Oscar, thank you so much for your time, and I'm so glad you said yes to
always, brother.
And I mean, because I know your story, and it's incredible what you've been through and what you've overcome. I think it's worth sharing with the world, like you're doing on your social media, and thank you for allowing me to do it on my platform as well. And thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate it, my man. Thank you. That was cool.
Unshakable family, one thing I want to say before we wrap up: drivers of vehicles, please just be mindful of cyclists, motorbikes, and people on the road, pedestrians as well. But we've got an unshakable man here next to me who overcame all of that and that accident that happened to him. A true inspirational man and a great story. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning into Unshakeable. If today's story moved you, inspired you, or gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about staying rooted when the world shakes. If you haven't already, hit follow, leave a review, and help us grow this community of resilient voices. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, stay unshakable.